What's up, everyone? Welcome back to our Keeler Outdoors. Another video for you guys today. Just finishing up this tackle thing, man. Today we're going to talk about some swim baits, some paddletails, some of the heads I use on my paddletails, some unique paddletails, and if there's time, because I don't want to go too long, we might get into some bigger baits that I can't say I've had a lot of success on, but I do have. So let's get into all that. Paddletails, let's start with the brands. So I have a little bit of everything. I've tried a little bit of everything. Keitech, like we said earlier, if you guys watch swim jigs, you can't go wrong with a Keitech. They are a good one. White Keitech. I have some of the power bait ones. I don't recommend these. I didn't like them. They were a little too stiff. Just working through them. The vines from 6 Cents, they're a good one if you're looking for that rib swim bait, like another option for that Keitech. So, if you did watch my swim bait video, you're about to see my favorite ones. And my favorite ones to use are the Gambler, the EZs. These happen to be the Little EZs. These are my favorite to fish by themselves. I just like the size, I like the profile, I like the action, I like the Gambler juice. So Little EZs, like you can see, I got all different colors, are my favorite. My second favorite one's a little bit smaller one. It's called the Little Dipper by Reaction Innovations. And I showed you guys that too. That's got a little unique profile. That's my second favorite one. So Little EZs are first, and then those Little Dippers are second, if I had to pick my favorite two. I do keep the Keitechs. I try, as you can see, I try to get away from the more rounder rib swim baits, paddletails anymore, which is why I said these are all good, but they're not my favorites. They definitely work. You're not going to go anywhere in the country that a Keitech's not going to catch them at times. So some of the heads I like to use. We'll start simple. So these are just Gambler swim heads with the screw lock on them. Just basic ones. I have the 2 different sizes in them, and they're good ones. Some other basic ones I have, just a round eye jig. Can't go wrong with that from time to time. And then I have another basic head style, just a basic swim jig. So if I'm just going out and I'm searching, those are the ones I'm going with. At times I'll use these, and these are wobble heads. So I got 2 different kinds of wobble heads. I got the traditional biffle bug kind of wobble head that you guys are used to seeing. And I will fish a paddletail on here, believe it or not. I'll drag a paddletail across the bottom on this in a heartbeat. Just pulling it nice and slow, reeling down, pulling it, reeling down. And that has worked for me. Yes, a crawl goes on it most of the time, but I will fish paddletails on these. And you see I got a little or smaller one for those Little Dipper size. Same thing, I'll drag that right across the bottom from time to time. A couple other setups for paddletails. I do have 2 different kinds of underspins. Just a normal one, and then I got one that almost mimics a bait ball underspin. And it's just another option to give a little more flash from time to time when you're throwing those paddletails. So I can't say I fish paddletails a ton. There's another color in that little bait ball. And these are Gamblers as well. I know that one's a Z-Man. That wobblehead's a Z-Man. I don't necessarily know who makes that wobblehead. It's just when I got off the shelf, I believe at Cabela's. I don't know who makes that this one either. It may be an owner flashy swimmer, but I'm not positive about that. This is what you've seen is how in depth I get in my paddletails. I don't fish them a ton, probably a lot less than I should. There is a time and place where I'll throw them and give them a shot. It's not my favorite technique. I will show you one more little paddletail on its head. So this is a very, very finesse size head, and I'll have to look up what this is and put it in the description. I forget this exact ball head's name, but I use this for what's called a biwa rig. And without going in super depth of where it came from, it's a Japanese style. It started in Japan, where most unique things start. And it's just a small paddle tail that's going to go on here that at times will absolutely destroy. But it's a very, very finessey technique. These are the paddle tails I like to pair with it, the OSPs. Pull them out just so you can see them a little closer. So you see how small that is. And when paired with that head, like I said, it's a very, very finessey technique. And at times, it's the only way to catch fish. So, I mean, this is the essential equivalent of going down from flipping a Texas rig worm down to a Ned, in my opinion. So there's a time and a place when you have to downsize that much. I don't do it often, but I do have them on hand if I feel nothing else is working and I'm really searching for something. So that's my BWA rig. These are OSP HP Shad 2.5 inches. These are the two colors I happen to have in it. Not like I said, I'll link that BWA head below that I use in the size. I'll just have to look it up. While we're on Paddletail, I showed you all my hooks. Everyone knows how to rig a Paddletail, I hope. If you need that, drop it in the comments. I'll make a special video just putting them on the different heads I use. While we're on Paddletails, I do want to show you guys these. So they are technically a Paddletail, they're just not fished like a Paddletail. So these are the dark sleepers from Megabass. They come in two sizes. And you can see how chewed up this one is. I absolutely unload on fish on these at the right time of year. Usually in that fall transition, these are my go-to. And the key is you don't throw these out and swim them back. Most of the time you're hopping or dragging these things like a jig. So when you tie on a dark sleeper, imagine tying on a jig and you're throwing it out and you're yo-yoing it up off the bottom and letting it fall on the slack line. Or you're just slowly pulling it, like I said with those wobble heads, slowly pulling it across the bottom. That tail on the dark sleeper starts pretty fast. It has a ton of action in it. You can't go wrong with them. And actually Berkley last year, I believe it came out last year. So Edwin Evers was with Megabass for years and he switched to Berkley. And this was one of his favorite baits, so naturally when he switched over to Berkley, he had him make his own version of them. So these are called the Agent E's. You can see this one, the hook's actually, in the dark sleep, the hook's actually hidden in the fins. This one actually has a little bit better of a snag-proof, I'd call it half fin or something. But it actually does work. These actually do get snagged less than these. Another thing he added, there's a little rattle in these. Can't really hear it, but it's in there. So these are really nice and a good alternative. They're a little cheaper than the Megabass. I've had just as much success on the Agent E's as I have had on the Megabass, and that's why I still have both of them. So another variation of a Paddletail to fish like a jig, which is more up my alley. They're the ones I usually go to before the traditional Paddletail. So check them out if you've never checked them out. There's much better videos on it. Once I get back on the water, I could show you guys exactly what I do with these, how I work them, how I catch my fish on them. If you want to see that. 9 minutes, 9.5 minutes. Yeah, we got time. Let's jump into some bigger baits real quick. So I'll stick with the Paddletails. I do have some different style soft plastic baits, just a bluegill one. I think this is Savage Lures makes this one. I don't really know where this one came from, but I have it in there. I don't throw these a ton. I don't throw these kind of baits a ton. I will show you the two better soft plastics that I have that everyone's heard of. These are by Megabass as well, and these are the Magdrafts, and I have them in the 6 inches, which is our smaller ones. And I don't have a ton of time in these. I've thrown them out. I played with them. I've never caught a fish on these bigger baits yet. Maybe someday I'll lock one in, really give it a shot, really give it a try. I love the action. I could see where they would catch fish. Like I said, I'm in PA and I don't feel like we get on as good of a big bait bite as other places in the country. Yes, guys will catch a giant on these every once in a while, but I mean, you're talking weeks of throwing nothing but these to catch that one giant fish, and that's not... I like catching big fish. I think there's a way for me to be more efficient at it than using these. But someday I plan on locking one in somewhere and making them catch a fish, because I love the action on them. I love the fall on them. They are great baits. While I'm in here, let me show you the couple hard baits I have. So these are Mike Bucas. A lot of people heard of Mike Bucas. They're harder jointed baby bull shads, are what these are called. They're harder jointed swim baits, and these have a phenomenal action. I watched John lose one of the biggest fish I've ever seen on one of these at Chambers Lake. So these do have a time and a place. I can't say that I use them a ton, but I've seen these produce. So I have a few colors in them, as you can see. So Mike Buca baby bull shads, I do like those. And then I'll show you my two glide baits, which I'm not a glide bait fisherman. I don't catch anything on a glide bait. I have the River2Sea, I have an S-Waver, and price point around upper 20s, I want to say. So I didn't invest much into my glide bait fishing. It looks beautiful in the water. I've had one fish follow it in the few hours I fished it, but I've never had anything actually commit to this. And I heard Gerald Swindle one time, G-Man, say these are ooh baits, because you fish them and the fish follows and you go ooh, but you never catch the fish. And he says, I don't fish them. And I can tell you, I don't fish them much either. I'll get bored once or twice a year. I'll throw on a big glide bait. I'll rip it out there, let it do its beautiful thing coming through the water and look pretty, and never have anything commit to it. That's pretty much what happens. And I do have, by Jackall, this is the Gantarell Jr. And this is something I picked up just to strictly bed fish, which is something I don't do a lot. Is I don't bed fish. For whatever reason, in the spring around here, we don't seem to have clear enough water for me to ever see a fish on their bed, let alone be in the right area to break this out and actually bed fish. So I have almost no time into this bait. I've thrown it out and reeled it back in and worked it a little bit just to see the action. It has a great action. I believe it will work. I just haven't put it in the right place and put it at the right time to make it work. So that's all the further I'm going to go with all that. That's my glide baits. That's my big swim baits. That's as in depth as I get into big swim baits and glide baits. I don't do it often. Dark sleepers and the Agent E's, love them. They're something I look forward to throwing to, because I love that jig fishing, and this is just a way for me to do it in a little different way and catch a little bit different fish. So I have a ton of them that I really like using. I got a whole column of them in there. Just to recap, BY rigs, the smaller little Paddletails, and then Reaction Innovations and Gambler Little EZs are my favorite Paddletails. Keitechs have a place. Divine Swimbaits have a place. They all work. Pick up what you want. Get out there. Give it a shot. I like to fish my Paddletails around laydowns at the right time of year. I'll swim on out of the light. I'll swim it off the edges of that laydown before I start putting that jig into the heart of that laydown at times. That's where I really use my Paddletails. So, yeah, I hope this helped a little. Like I said, I've just been going through this tackle, and I wanted to show you guys everything I keep on the boat. So there is no me pulling out something and it being super secret. There are no secrets in this game. Everybody does everything. There's enough information out there on YouTube. If you're looking for something, whether it's my channel, other channels, somebody has made a video on what you're looking for. Somebody is out there to try and help you in the right direction. The big thing about fishing I found is you got to get out there and kind of do your own thing. Take what you learn from me, take what you learn from someone else. Go out there, figure out how to make that your own, how to make that feel like something you have confidence in, because nothing is going to catch fish the way confidence catches fish. So I appreciate you guys watching. I'll catch you on the next one.